A lot of restaurants kill their growth by ignoring one of their most critical inbound customer engagement points, and that's phone calls. Christian Wiens, the CEO of Loman, and I talk about how modern voice AI is truly changing the restaurant game, turning busy, broken phone systems into profitable systems that you can drive over 60% of callers that don't even know that they're talking to a machine. And it's increased in some of their restaurants that they work with over 25% sales increase using the phone and having that digitized. Christian shares his story of working in the front of the house as a kid in a busy restaurant in California and his path to creating software that handles unlimited calls simultaneously, upselling and truly driving great customer engagement. I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, yeah, that's never going to work. I would encourage you to listen to this episode because you'll learn quite a bit why the system that you have for your phones are costing you thousands in lost revenue, how really AI continues to increase and you're getting over 99% accuracy, which quite frankly is oftentimes better than the human you have answering the phone, and how hyper personalization is truly creating a loyal guest experience on the phone. If you don't know me, my name is Jeremy Julian. I am the Chief Revenue Officer of CBS Northstar. We wrote the Northstar point of sale solution for multi-units. Please check us out at cbsnorthstar.com. And now on to the episode. Welcome back to the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast. I thank everyone out there for joining us, as I like to say each and every time. I know you guys got lots of choices out on the internet to go listen to people, and so thank you for hanging with us. Today, I am joined by a co-founder of a product, and I keep seeing more and more of these, and so I'm excited to dig in with Christian. But Christian, why don't you give our audience a little bit? Who is Christian? Where did Christian come from? I know you and I got a chance to talk before we hit the record button, but I'd love to have our audience kind of hear who is he, and then kind of how did you get into restaurant tech in general?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Christian Wiens. I'm the CEO and founder of Loman AI. We build what I think is the best voice AI for restaurants on the market. We build an AI that answers restaurants' phones, takes orders, takes reservations, integrates with point of sale systems, answers questions, right? And we do it with the highest accuracy, lowest latency, and the most humanism of any of the solutions out there by far. We've tested it against every single competitor that we can find. Our accuracy is higher. I mean, this is why customers stay with us, and we can get into this. But yeah, that's what we do. We're Loman. We're based out of Austin, Texas. We've been around for about 2 years. I know you're seeing a lot of these like new companies pop up. There were like 3 or 4 companies that came before us, like years before us, like 3 or 4 years. So they were very early. I feel like we got lucky, honestly, with timing. We nailed timing. Right, we were there 2 years ago, April 2024, like perfect time. Like nobody else was really making any buzz. And it seems like over the last 6 months, there's been like all these random, and good for them. They realize it's a good solution and that have come up. So that's who we are. That's where we are, and happy to be here today.
Awesome. I appreciate you sharing a little bit. Why don't you give our listeners a little bit of a background? Because it's always fun to hear from founders that aren't just trying to solve a technology problem because they see some cool tech out there. I know before I hit the record button, you're like, no, I live this. I understand what this problem is because of your upbringing and some of those kind of things. And so why don't you kind of, give our listeners a little bit of how did you even get into the restaurant business? I think even in our early conversations, like, dude, this is hard. It's hard dealing with restaurants. They're fast-paced 100%. Manufacturing center, and it takes a understanding of it. And I love that you kind of came up through that. So why don't you share a little bit of that with our listeners?
Absolutely. Look, I didn't come to this from I'm just a tech person that was trying to get into the restaurant industry, which, look, nothing against those people. I think that's fine. Like, I worked in the restaurant industry for about a decade, starting from the time I was like legally allowed to work. I worked in this fast casual, super high volume barbecue restaurant in Pismo Beach, California called Moe's. I was working at the front of house, doing everything a front of house person does, filling the Pepsi machine, taking out food, expoing, getting orders ready for delivery drivers to come and pick them up. And of course, answering the phone or not answering the phone, right? I think that's really the thing. It's like if you know this area of California that I'm from, it's on the coast, right? It's central or Southern California, pretty much, kind of like Central Coast is what we call it, around San Luis Obispo. There's the town that this place is in is actually called Pismo Beach, right? There's thousands and thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that come through that area, this tourist area every single day, right? And this restaurant I worked in was on the main street in this place, right? So we'd have they're probably doing 10 million a year, 5 million a year in revenue, something like crazy, right? Because like there's just so much traffic. We would always have 3 people working in the front of house, 4 or 5 sometimes on Fridays. And legitimately, at least 50% of the time when I was working a night shift, like a dinner shift, we would rip the phone out of the wall. Like, remember those old
Hmm.
landlines that you just like unplug the little thing? Like, we would take that out, right? And so that's because we could, it wasn't because the kitchen couldn't handle more capacity. It was because the front of house just like had way too much going on that we were
Hmm.
leaving our customers on essentially on red, right? Like imagine calling a restaurant, and this happens all the time, right? I can go into all the stats here, but calling a restaurant, ring, 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 they don't answer. Let's say you call back. Only 40% of people actually do call back, actually. So you're losing 60% of the business the first time you don't answer that phone. But let's say they do call back and then they call again, right? Now I'm pissed off. Now I'm not going to come back. Right. That's exactly
Yep.
what was happening there. Just because, and it's happening at every restaurant across the United States that has a phone and has volume. The old solutions, right? The VoIPs, press one, press two, those solutions are literally in their stated mission is to deflect phone calls, to I don't want phone calls, right? And that was all that was available 3, 4 years ago, right? You really wanted to get people away. The salespeople at those companies like Reachify or like whatever, like Ring Central, their whole thing was telling you like, don't answer the phone, deflect your calls. Okay, well, that's like telling you piss off 40% of your business, right? Because phones are still between 20 and 40% of restaurant business across the United States, depends on the type of restaurant. It's even higher for pizza restaurants. Some pizza restaurants, it's 60% of their business. So you don't want to answer the phone. Okay, you're just literally pissing off 40% of your customers, 30% of your customers, and you're losing. The more important thing is you're losing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue. We've seen it
Yeah.
with Loman. And that's why we came up with this solution. It's in my blood. I've been working in restaurants since I was young. My aunt and uncle own a restaurant on both sides of my family, right? It's not something I just came to. And also my co-founder, our CTO, he was previously working building another company, AI computer vision company for bars and restaurants. So we came to this back in April of 2024. We said, look, we have the right skill set, the right background, we know the problem, and we dove headfirst in.
Yeah, no, and I think your story about kind of we're in the hospitality business, but for whatever reason, the phone is the most inhospitable means because to your point, when you're working the front of the house, it's a huge challenge. You oftentimes have a guest in front of you. You've
Right.
got the phone ringing. You're dealing with the kitchen trying to get you to pick up something from the expo window or from the takeout window. And so across the board, I guess, it's a challenge. I was actually having food recently and I was like, dude, I don't know how, because I grew up working in restaurants. I'm like, I don't even know how I would deal with it. Because when I was working in restaurants, I'm much older than you are and much older than probably a lot of our listeners. It was like there was one channel. People walked in the door. They might
Yeah,
call,
that's
they might
right.
call, but now you've got third party, you've got first party ordering, you've got phone, you've got text messaging ordering platforms. So, Christian, why don't you define what voice ordering AI is? There's a lot of misnomers about really just, I
Yeah,
guess,
for sure.
what is AI? We didn't make it 30 seconds into the show without talking about AI. I think every single episode in 2026 thus far has had AI somewhere in it. But I'd love
Yep.
for you to define what even does that mean? Because there's a lot of people out there when I talk with them, they're like, dude, there's no way. Because they think of an IVR, they think of calling
Yes.
American Express, they think about calling American Airlines and they're just pissed and they have to keep pushing buttons. And I know it's nowhere close to that. I got a chance to watch your guys' demo online and I was like, dude, this is really good. So I'd love for you to educate our listeners to what really it is that you define the problem, but now how is AI and really your guys' solution solving so much of this?
Yeah, I think that this takes us back to April of 2024, early 2024 when we started this company, right? Like there are 2 or 3 companies that came before us. There's like SoundHound. I'm not gonna name them. I don't think it's fair. Like there's some companies that came a few years before us. The reason we started the company in April of 2024, or we started thinking about it a little bit before that, was because the tech had finally got there. If you
Mm-hmm.
wanted to build a solution in 2022, 2023, even definitely 2019, 2020, 2021, you were building something that was going to piss your customers off way more than if you just deflected them and said, we don't take calls. Sorry, right? Like a
Yeah,
customer's
you'd
going to
be
get
better off just not taking the calls because that AI
right.
assistant was awful.
Everybody knows the example of calling CVS or calling your bank, right? Where they still use these outdated tools that are, hey, like you have to literally go through a phone tree, takes 10 minutes. And sometimes, right, I got so pissed off the other day. I was trying to call my pharmacy to like get something dealt with a prescription. I got through the whole phone tree. It took me, I was like, I looked at my phone. It was like 7 minutes and some like 30 seconds. At the very end, they were like, yeah, actually, we can't take a call. You just have to leave a voicemail. And I
Yeah.
was
And they
like,
hang up on you.
oh my goodness, man. And so, anyways, back to my story. Like at that time, the LLMs got good enough finally to where we could legitimately get on a call with, or, create a call with one of these LLMs and it sounded 90% like a human. Like almost, now we're at pretty much LLMs are and these voice AI tools are better than a human at taking phone calls. And there's a couple of reasons why, and I can go through that. It has to do
Yeah,
with
I'd love to
they can,
understand why, because I was
yeah,
actually even talking to our own CTO recently
yeah,
about that, because it feels like this world has exploded the last couple of years. Because to your point, I've heard of the SoundHounds of the world that have been around for
yeah.
quite some time, and they had a different model, but it feels like the ability to get up to speed and create something that is going to make a huge difference. I don't know if it's the barrier to entry, if it's that the tools have gotten better, but I'd love for you to
Well,
share a little bit more about
here's
that.
yeah, I think here's the beautiful thing, or like the beautiful, but also like brutal thing about this, where we are currently in 2026. Okay. It is really easy for a new company to come on the scene and make a demo, just as easy as it was for us to do it back in 2024. I mean, actually, it was a little bit harder for us, but like at the end of the day, right, making a demo, it's not hard. Like if you give me your restaurant, you say, here's my menu, here's a few pieces of information, I can make you a flashy demo that sounds like it's working, like almost at 100%. I can just basically tell the AI, say, hey, just make sure that you always agree with the customer, allow anything they say, right? I can make it sound really good. The dirty little secret about this industry is that is only 5% of the problem, right? So there's all these companies coming out that are like, oh, we have the voice AI and it sounds amazing. You listen to it, you're like, oh, it sounds good. It sounds almost as good as Loman or like whatever, right? Here's the problem. The problem comes when you don't have taken the tens of millions of calls that Loman's taken. You don't know how a menu needs to be structured for a specific type of restaurant, for a pizza restaurant, for a chicken restaurant, for a sit down fine dining restaurant, for a sandwich restaurant. You don't know how an order needs to be taken. You don't know what the typical issues people run into on calls are. You don't know how the AI needs to be structured, what instructions need to be given to the AI. You don't know how the tool calling, and now I'm getting into some technical terms, like you don't know how that needs to be structured. You don't know the prompts to make it work. So now when you try to get into production, it fails 25% of the time. And 25% failure is abject failure in this industry by far. Loman is 99.3% accurate. People claim higher accuracy, but I don't believe them. And I've tried all the other ones. And look, that where we separate ourselves is accuracy, latency, and humanism. At the end of the day, we do some research on this. It's really hard to get an accurate number because it's just really hard to get an accurate number. But we think around 63% of the people that talk to Loman don't know they're speaking to an AI. It's
Yeah.
that good. And let's talk about how it gets better, right? It's better than a human at answering the phone. Well, here's why it's better. It can answer up to 100, technically like unlimited calls at the same time. We've had one go to 12 simultaneous calls before. That was the most ever for one restaurant.
That's
Um,
amazing.
it was crazy, right? You can answer as many calls as you want, right? At the same time. The AI will remember every single thing you tell it. It knows the menu front and back, does not know anything that a customer is going to ask. You can train it to have basically it's imagine if you had an employee that never slept, never complained, never had a bad day, never broke up with his boyfriend or girlfriend, so they came in and were pissed off. They never missed a call. They had a bazillion arms and years, so they could answer as many calls as you want. Their brain was on super mode, so they could remember the whole menu, remember every single thing you ever told them ever, remember every single customer's payment method, take a credit card without asking for the numbers, right? So like Loman is that, right? That is why AI is so helpful and technically better than a human. And this is why Loman, when customers adopt Loman, they see a 23% increase in their phone order revenue. So if you're doing 30%, 40%, 50% of your revenue through the phones, if Loman's going to give you a 20% bump, that can easily I mean, that revenue is just
Yeah, that pays for the
pure
system.
found revenue. Oh, I mean, it's not even close, right? The ROI, like we have this ROI calculator on our website. It almost looks fake, right? Because it's like, oh, you're going to spend whatever it is, $400 a month, and you're going to save, or you're going to make an extra 200,000 a year. And it's like,
Mhm.
that can't be real, you know? But we see this. Here's like what I want to caution your audience like on this, like, and also test us. But if you go with a provider, a voice AI provider, just because it's cheaper, right? You are going to get burned. Like I've seen it happen here over and over. What you need to do is you need to test it live with your true customers calling, have it take orders and see what the accuracy is into your POS. If it doesn't integrate with their POS, just stop the conversation right there. There's literally no reason to use an AI that doesn't integrate with your POS unless you're trying to deflect the calls. That's different. If you're trying to do that and you want to just sound a little bit better, then sure, there's tools out there for that. But if you're a serious operator that's taking orders, taking reservations, you want every single call to be answered, you want the person on the other end of the line to have a friendly voice every single time they talk to your customers, you need an AI that you know is going to be accurate and it integrates with the tools that you're already using. So those are kind of the things that I would tell your audience is like, we see this over and over again where a customer will go to like a cheap option. Like, oh, it's going to be $200 a month for 1 billion calls a month. And we're like, okay, well, we just can't compete with that. So sorry.
Mhm.
They come back after 2 months and they're like, hey, they never got me live. I never got any support. It doesn't work. We see this almost 100% of the time when that happens. So we stick to our guns as the industry's leading voice AI. We're not the cheapest though. And I'm going to tell you and your audience that right now, if you want the cheapest version of something, like that's okay. I know there's a spot for that, but that's not Loman. But we will give you the best results. I can guarantee you that. I know this conversation has gone a totally,
No,
totally
no,
different direction, but
well, and I think it's really that advent of the large language models again for people that may not
yep.
even know what that means. Is it's the ChatGPTs and the Claudes and all of these things. They've
Yeah.
trained on enough data to get there. There's two things I guess I'd love for you to help us overcome. First is human in the loop,
Yep.
and second is latency. You
Okay.
mentioned latency in a sentence or two, but I know that's a big one for people. Is a human has a bit of empathy and can even in our conversation, I'm listening to your tone, I'm responding with
Yes.
tone, and again, I think that those things are part of what everybody
Absolutely.
doesn't believe that the tool can solve for today. And then there's this whole idea of I need something that the computer can't solve for. How do I get a real person on the phone so that I can explain to them that I'm doing something for something that might be sensitive information? I'm doing a surprise party and I need to talk
Yeah.
to somebody about a surprise party, or I'm catering a memorial and I need to make sure that they understand not to be all cheery when they come and deliver the catering. Today's episode is brought to you by Restaurant Technologies Incorporated. They are the leaders in automated cooking oil management. And if you're not familiar with them, they've been on the show a few times to share some of the unique and cool things that they've been doing in the oil management space. They have an end-to-end closed-loop automated system that helps deliver, monitor, filter, collect, and recycle your cooking oil. Sounds like a lot. It's because they do a ton to help clean up one of the dirtiest jobs and most dangerous jobs in your kitchen. You can check them out by visiting rti-inc.com or by calling 888-779-5314. They've already helped over 45,000 customers in the United States with their cooking oil, so clearly they're doing something right. Now back to the episode. So I'd love for you to talk through both of those real quick
Yep.
for me or for our
Yeah.
listeners.
The first part is more technical, right? It's how do you do something called like turn detection, or like what type of models are you using? How does your prompting work, right? Everything that goes into how you build an agent will make it more human-like, right? So I can respond to you, stay at your tone, on your level. I don't sound right. The whole point of this, back in the day, right, when you talk to a computer, it's just this like level, like
Monotone.
monotone thing, right? Like our AI, because of the models, the way we've tweaked them, the way we fine tune them, the way that we, prompt them, all of these, our special little sauce, right? At the end of the day, we are going to match tone of voice. We automatically inject ambient restaurant noise into the background of the call so it sounds more realistic. Latency is configured. What's funny about this whole like latency problem is people ask about this, like it's too slow. Well, the actual thing that we got to was it was too fast. Like we got where latency was so low that people naturally pause sometimes when they speak. Maybe I don't, and I sound like I'm on too much coffee or something. But when people paused, like they would be, oh, okay, let me get a number one with French fries and then they'd pause for like a second. AI would like jump in, right? So we had to fix that too because it was too fast, right, at responding and understanding. So there's a lot of things that you can do to make a voice agent sound more realistic, like cycle the voices, like make sure that. I mean, it's all this technology type stuff that I could go through. Sorry, your
Which just
second
suffices
question.
to say, I guess, Christian, is that you guys have solved for that latency. It does,
Oh yeah,
it sounds more like a human. Because again, even 2 years ago, when I first started testing some of the stuff, I would get these you'd get these awkward pauses and you'd be like, oh, I can
yep,
tell I'm talking to a computer. To certain guests, I think it's going to be fine because they don't really even want to talk to a human. But at the end of the day, you're trying to create this hospitable
yep,
environment. And the thing I continue to remind our listeners about is as the AI continues to get better, it continues to learn and it continues to just enhance
yes.
itself almost as time goes on. So today's order is going to sound very different than a year from now's order, because a year from now it's going to have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of calls that it's learned on to get better. It is at least what I've heard from people.
That's exactly right. And it's not just that, it's, something that Loman is doing that it's really important, right, is personalization. So like, a certain, like, I can't give you I don't know the exact number, right, for our customers, but it's high, right? Over 10% of calls these restaurants get are from repeat callers. It's higher than that even. Repeat callers, right? They're calling back. They've called the restaurant before. They want to order something again. Loman wants to make every interaction with that restaurant like the most personalized interaction as possible because that gives us the opportunity to upsell or suggestively sell something better. So
Mhm.
every conversation we're having, it's training the main model, right? So our main model gets better and better and better and better, right? Because it gets more context about how somebody orders a pizza in Boston and how they order a sandwich or what they call this, right? But also we're memorizing personal like information about what you are as a diner, right? What type of food Jeremy likes when he calls Christian's Pizza. What does he order? How often does he order? What is his payment method? Right? Like how much does he normally order when he's on like what would be a good potential all of this information comes together to allow us to create a profile of you as a diner, not a, and ultimately we can then suggestively sell to you over the phone and increase your revenue. So we're actually also increasing average ticket size by 18%. So
That's
over the
huge.
phone. Yeah, it's
So not
humongous.
only are you answering 100% of the calls, of which oftentimes 40, 50, 60% of them don't get answered, but
Yes.
then when you get them on the phone, you're driving,
Yep.
top line check.
Exactly. Top line revenue is going up. Average order value is going up. Or sorry, top line revenue for phone orders in general, because we can't really affect
Mhm.
your online yet. Yet we're doing some fun things. And then I wanted to answer the human in the loop stuff. So we took a few different looks at how we should do this. And we were like, should we like have a call center? Should we take the calls ourselves? I don't know. There's a lot of different things. So what we ended
Yep.
up with after talking to dozens of our customers that we had was they want to take the calls when somebody asks to speak to a human, right? If
Okay.
somebody's like, hey, I'm late for work, sending that to a call center does nothing. That's just another problem, right? So if somebody calls with something that the AI quote can't handle, it's more like things that are programmed for the AI to send the call to the restaurant. An employee is calling, a customer is calling for catering, and they don't want the AI to take the catering orders. Although we do that, but like some restaurants want to take them themselves, right? They have a special event space. I don't know, something like that, right? That is when we will send the call directly to the restaurant's phone, right? And so that transfer rate stays really low. Like we're still taking a huge majority of the calls. Now it's like not a, you're gonna forget the phone rings, but if you have a call that needs to go through to the restaurant, like that's something that you can take. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool, man. Like customers, some of the stories people tell us about, like like one thing, like
Well, some of the testimonials you guys have on your website are incredible. I spent a
yeah,
little bit of time earlier today thinking, watching a couple of the testimonial, videos and or the text on there. I was like, oh, these guys have really solved some huge problems.
that
Unless those are AI bots that you
yeah.
guys went and bought somewhere in China
No,
to put up there.
you can
I'm
go
teasing you.
eat at those restaurants, call those owners. I mean, don't call the owners. I don't want everybody calling the owner, but like,
Yeah.
definitely they're all, but most of those people are willing to talk. Most of those people are talking to other customers of ours because people call them. But like, That is another thing that I would highly suggest people do. If you get a voice AI company that does not have testimonials on their website, or they don't have customers that you can go and talk to about their experience, that is a problem. Like that means that they are hiding from something, I would say. Not that they don't have professionally made, like that's totally different. Like that's just a matter of me going out and doing those. But if they don't have people you can go and talk to, or are willing to talk to their success with the product, that's an issue. And that's what we place a lot of. I mean, the number one thing at Loman that I heard from the very beginning of starting this company was, "Oh, the POS sucks. Like I can't get anybody on the phone. All the tools I use, they suck. The support sucks. All of it." Like I kept thinking about it, like,
Hmm.
how is this possible? Like, how come people aren't like, able to get to some, like when you're running a restaurant, it's a high stress situation. When a problem happens, you're pretty screwed. Like there's like if your toast system goes down, like, and all you get is like somebody in like, halfway across the world picking up the phone. Nothing wrong with that if they could fix your problem, but if they can't fix your problem, you're in a real
Yep.
situation. So, from the very beginning of starting Loman, one of our core tenets is to provide the best white glove support we could possibly. If you or buy Loman, of course, right? We will get back to you in minutes. Any time of the day. I think the only time we're technically offline is in the like 2 a.m. to like 4 a.m. or something like that, or 5 a.m. One of those. But every other time, right? Like those first 100 customers, they still have my cell phone. They call me all the time, right? There's like I fix problems for them if they have them. you know, a core tenet of Loman and the company is that we believe that restaurant owners like are like some of the most amazing entrepreneurs in the world. And when they come across a problem, they should be supported, especially with a new technology like this. And so white glove support goes to every single customer that we have. And you can get in touch with somebody to fix your problem right away. I mean, that was like another really huge, thing. I think like if somebody sends you to like a Discord or like says, "Oh, hey, just like send us an email," like that, that does not work.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Restaurants are trying to get their managers out of the office and off of their devices, and
That's
and
exactly right.
oftentimes it's a phone thing. So talk me through, Christian, a little bit of kind of where else you guys are seeing things expand. For me, I had a very similar experience to what you said, where I happen to be a father of four.
Yeah.
So when I'm going out to dinner, if it's a restaurant that I know is busy, I will call before I go because I want to make sure. And quite frankly, for me, oftentimes it's less about ordering and more about,
Yeah.
can you seat me?
Questions.
Am I going to have to wait for 30 minutes when I get there? Those kind of things. But I had the ring no answer, ring no answer, ring no answer, and I'm like, you know what? Screw it. It happened to be cold and rainy, and I wanted ramen, so I was like, you know what? Ramen sounds good on a rainy day. When it's chilly out, and I try to, I didn't end up going there because of exactly what you're talking about. Are you guys seeing that? Are you seeing drive through? Like, again, I think there's a lot of different ways that this
Yeah.
can help. I'd love for you to kind of talk a little bit about beyond just kind of voice ordering. What else are you
Huh?
guys seeing as kind of the frontier for you guys to continue to expand into?
Yeah. No, look, I probably harp on ordering a lot because I think that's the hardest problem. But like around 25% of the calls that we get are questions, right? They're not that we have to be able to answer those accurately for customers because here's the problem. Orders are great for a restaurant, right? You're getting revenue, you're getting a new customer or a customer returning, right? Something like that. The amount of labor it costs and the amount of distraction it costs to your front of house if you're not using a voice AI to answer the phone for somebody that picks up the phone and says, "Hey, are you guys open?" That's the exact same amount of time that that person has to spend on the phone with a looky loo or somebody that doesn't, maybe they want to ask a million questions. The beautiful thing about AI is it will answer a million of your questions accurately, and it will answer with a smile on their face, right? It doesn't have somebody in front of them asking, "Hey," I funny enough, like I was at this Italian place here in Austin. I was picking up dinner for the team. This was such a funny like meta experience. Basically, it was like I was picking up dinner for the team. I had called it in, but I called the food in. Just I don't even. Who knows? Maybe I just wanted to try their phone. I go there. I park. I walk in. The guy's on the phone. I'm like, okay, like that's okay. Like I'll stand here and wait, of course. 10 minutes goes by. The guy's still on the phone. There's three people behind me, and I'm trying to get his attention. I'm like, hey, can I just like, I've already paid, right? I want to
Hmm.
get my
Yeah, you just want to
food.
pick up your food. Yeah.
Yeah. This guy's on the phone for 20 minutes. There's a line of six people behind me. And I'm like,
Wow.
dude, like, this is like, you can't do that. Like, how did nobody
Hmm.
tell him? And I get it. Look, I get it. It's incredibly busy. It's a dinner rush. Like that right there was the physical manifestation of the problem that we're solving. And so we do that too. But here's where I think things are going. I think hyper personalization in both the way that you get revenue as a restaurant, so phone calls come in, and the way that you get more revenue or you increase your revenue. So things like marketing, right? Like SMS, right? Those are the things that we're talking about doing next, right? Like we have an SMS AI agent as well where you can text it an order. But like imagine if I know you, Jeremy, I know that you order from this pizza place twice a week. I know that you I don't know, you always get a gluten-free pizza, I don't know, something like that, or like, how about this? Like maybe we know you're allergic to something specific. We know that you've ordered a dessert a couple times, but you don't always. But we know exactly what you are as a diner. You know,
Hmm.
we can text you on the off week that you don't order and be like, "Hey, it's Tuesday night again. Jeremy probably is picking up his kids from soccer practice. It's 6:30. Like maybe we can hit him at the exact perfect time to where it would be convenient for him to order. He can one click just say yes, that order's done. He doesn't have to do anything, and that food is there when he gets home or at the place for him to pick up. So hyper personalized marketing, that's something that we're looking at and building. Hyper personalized conversations, right? We can do we but there's a long way to go in voice, right? Like
Uh-huh.
restaurants, there's a million of them in the United States. Drive through, right? We drive through is an interesting one. We
It's hard.
decided to stay away from it because we didn't think that the gains were there. We were like, this doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. Like you still need somebody at the window and you can't stuff more cars unless you make a bigger drive through, right? There's no like it's not like a phone where you can, people are calling. It's just so I did it actually. I did it at Panda a few weeks ago and it was good. Like it was actually really good. I think it was a SoundHound one. It did mess up at the end and I had to flip over to a human. Like it wouldn't stop asking me if I wanted crab rangoons for some reason, and I was like, I don't want crab rangoons.
Yeah, you're like, leave me alone. I'm
Yeah,
driving forward and I'm
um,
done.
it was funny. I actually saw the guy. I was at Mertech, the multi-unit restaurant technology conference, a couple weeks ago or last week, and I saw the guy, the CTO of Panda or whatever, and I was like, hey, like he came up to our booth, and I was like, hey, so like I know you guys are using drive-through, like that's awesome. Like tell me about why, because like I never understood it. You don't get more money. There's no real efficient. There's some efficiency gain, maybe like a tiny bit, but you still need to have somebody standing there at the window. So you're not replacing that person. You're not getting more revenue. And he's like, honestly, it just makes our staff happier. And I was like, okay,
Yep.
that's cool and very helpful, but it's not what I want. That's not the problem I want to solve right now. Like I think there's a huge problem with actual phone in orders. So we haven't gone after drive through. We haven't thought about doing it yet. Who knows? It might be something we look at in the future. But yeah, not right now.
Awesome. One last question on kind of the tech. And you talked about this, your phone being able to have, 12 people simultaneously. You
Yeah,
talked about the restaurants getting blasted. I guess for our listeners that are out there that are like, dude, there are times that I have to unplug the phone from the wall
sure.
because I can't take another order. Talk them through how you guys can help either redirect them to a different place or, give them some better experience than they might just ring no answer, ring no answer, ring no answer.
Yeah. So with our technology, you can set it. You can technically turn it off, right? If you want, right? Like, hey, the kitchen. You can turn it into a paused state, basically. Hey, and you can actually change the message that the customers are getting when they call during that state. Hey, a tree fell on our power line outside the restaurant, so we have no power, so we're not taking orders. Or hey, kitchen's too backed up. We're pausing orders for the next hour. You can feel free to come in or order, or yeah, feel free to come in, sit down if you would like to wait. And then they can easily unpause it automatically from their app, their phone, their Loman app. So that's one thing we see a lot of people do if they really truly want, like, are just like too like overwhelmed with business. We just have a way to kind of fix that. We have holiday, you can obviously set hours during holidays or specific hours that you want Loman to answer the phone versus not. Like some customers, right? Like who knows, for whatever reason, maybe the mornings are just so not busy that they just want the people to answer the phone and there's 2 calls a day or something. You can set it up so Loman only answers from 5 to 8 p.m. and you guys take the calls the rest of the time. Yeah, we know that for restaurant owners, like customizability is really important because especially because we work in SMB and mid-market restaurants, like they need customizability, right? And so that's what we've done, made Loman very extensible and customizable from.
I love it. So what does the engagement look like, and how
Yeah.
quickly can you guys get people up to speed? They want to, they're sitting here and they're like 35 minutes in and going, all right, I need
Yeah.
this. I heard all of the success stories. I'm on the website. What can they expect? What does it look like to engage with your team, and kind of where do they go from here, I guess?
Yeah. This is also one of the things that really this is one of the things that sets Loman apart is white glove onboarding that takes 24 hours, right? So depending
Wow.
on how fast the restaurant owner wants to go, right? If a restaurant owner wants to go slower than that, like we can take a week, it's up to you. But what happens is when you come to Loman, all you got to do is go to our website, www.loman.ai, and you're going to see a big book a demo form right there. Or you can shoot us an email at sales@loman.ai, but just easier to go to the website, book a
There's a little
demo.
bot there with your face on it, I think, too, that
That's
shows
right.
up
You
to
can book a
schedule a
time
call with you.
right there if you want, right? It might not be with me, it might be with our sales team, but yeah, and fill out that form. We're gonna immediately reach out to you and say, hey, saw you fill out the form. We're gonna get a bunch of information from you. If you decide to move forward, we'll then connect your point of sale system to Loman. We'll clean the menu, do a bunch of automated stuff on our side to make sure we get ready to build your agent. Build your agent. All of this stuff just takes a few hours, and it will set up a call with our white glove onboarding specialist. If you want to do it that same day, great. If you want to do it in a week, great. If you want to do it 3 days, great. Like it's up to you, but we'll be ready for you to go live whenever you want. You'll get on the phone with the white glove onboarding specialist. They're going to get a bunch of information from you. That's like are there any other things that we need to know? Like, do you have a patio? Is it hard to find your parking lot? Like anything that you want the AI to know, you can train it on the dashboard, right? That you will get from us. And by the way, this is another thing that the customer will get. You'll get a dashboard after that first, you know, I think it takes like 24 hours. Like I said, you'll get a dashboard that allows you to set up your agent however you want. Configure the voice, configure the times, configure the training information that you're giving to the AI. Hey, we have high chairs. We show the NFL games on Sunday. Our parking lot is in the garage next door. Whatever it is you want people to know when they
Dogs are
call,
available on the patio. We
you
do
can
have a
configure
gluten-free
it.
menu, whatever. Yeah, all of the
Yeah,
things.
it will know your menu, like no matter what, because we're going to get it from your POS. Hook up to your POS, and then you get on with the white glove onboarding specialist, and then they will add more to your agent, right? Like they're going to ask you questions. They're going to ask you, you're going to have questions, I'm assuming. So you can ask them any questions you want, right? And from there, it's just a matter of flipping your phone over to the Loman agent, right? So they can help you do that. You can do it as soon as you want. Maybe there's some extra things you want added to your agent. We'll go ahead and do that. Maybe that takes a few more days, but our average customer gets onboarded in like 72 hours. That's another
That's incredible.
yeah, we put a lot of work into that, but we know restaurant owners want to get going with this stuff quick, but they want it to work at the same time. Oh yeah, that's a little
I
bit.
love
You can
that.
come to our website, www.loman.ai, just book us a demo and we'd be happy to.
Awesome. Well, Christian, I love that you guys have built this. I've kind of seen just the advent of this, and quite honestly, I work in this space every day, and I get the privilege to sit kind of at the forefront of a lot of this technology. Not gonna lie, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I didn't really believe it. Now,
Yeah.
the more I see it, it's just it blows me away. So, congratulations on building a real great solution that's going to solve some people's problems.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. And really appreciated being on the podcast and happy to answer any other questions any of your audience has. And hopefully we'll see each other again soon.
Awesome. Well, to our listeners, guys, like I said at the onset, we know you guys have got lots of choices. So thanks for hanging out with us this week. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the show. Go check out Loman.ai and have a great day.